Hello everyone, we welcome you all to this Week Tech Tuesday webinar on development guidelines for CDGC, CDQ, CDP and CDMP. Today's speakers are Srinivasa Gopal, who's a Principal Solutions Architect, and Puneet Dadecha, who's a Solutions Architect. Before we start the session, let's go through some of the housekeeping tips. The webinar is for 1 hour that includes 15 minutes Q&A. You can post your queries in Q&A box which will be answered at the end of the presentation. All participants will be muted during the presentation. The session will be recorded and it will be available on our InfoSupport YouTube channel and Success Portal where you can download the slide deck. Please feel free to submit your suggestion or feedback for this session in the post-webinar survey. The Success Portal is a micro-learning platform that offers free, unlimited learning to all the registered users. This feature-rich platform helps you learn and adopt to Informatica products better. The following are few important links that you can go over later. This will help you in your product adoption journey with Informatica. Over to you, Srinivasa and Puneet. Thank you.
Thank you for the introduction. Here is the agenda for today's webinar. We'll go through the introduction, org planning and architectural overview, IDMC security architecture, secure agents planning and sizing, installation and monitoring services of the secure agent, connections, roles and responsibilities, demo and getting started guide. Let's get started with the introduction. Here are the acronyms used in this webinar. IDMC stands for Intelligent Data Management Cloud, CDGC, Cloud Data Governance and Catalog, MCC, Metadata Command Center, CDQ, Cloud Data Quality, CDP, Cloud Data Profiling, CDMP, Cloud Data Marketplace, CDI, Cloud Data Integration, IPU, Informatica Processing Unit, POD, Point of Delivery, PAM, Product Availability Metrics, SA, Secure Agent, VPC, Virtual Private Cloud, ORG stands for Organization, ADLS, Azure Data Lake Store, AWS S3, Amazon Web Service Simple Storage Service. Intelligent Data Management Cloud is a cloud-native, API and microservices-based, elastic and serverless SaaS platform. Here today we will focus on data governance and catalog, data marketplace, data quality services, how to deploy and get started. Here are the key applications that we'll focus on. Data governance and catalog chiclet is focused on end user consumption. All users like contributors, collaborators, and consumers will be on this app. Create, update, delete, view all activities are managed from here for business metadata. Metadata Command Center is focused on admin activities. All admin activities and definition of data classifications and adding of new resources will happen in this service. Administrator is focused on admin activities for the overall IDMC platform. Users and user groups creation, SAML configurations all happen in the administrator chiclet. Define technical connections and defining the agents and runtime environments will be in the administrator service. Data profiling is focusing on data profiling tasks, helps to create and run data profiling tasks on a data source to determine the quality of the data and understand the dimensions of the data quality like completeness, conformity, consistency, validity, etc. Data quality is focused on improving the data quality scores and to help to verify, the standardize and improve the quality of the overall data in your data ecosystem. It's an on-demand subscription service like other services. Create, update, delete, view all DQ rules are managed from this service. Data Marketplace is focused on data shopping experience, helps to publish and find data collections for business use on organization level, accelerates the business value of an organization and allows people to source business value from data, enabling true data democratization. Create, publish, order data and set collections are managed from this service. You need to create a shipping case for enabling these services. The new Informatica Processing Unit is a unit of software licensing capacity that can be used across a range of cloud services. It's a consumption-based pricing model. Can be interchangeably used across different cloud integration, quality, governance, and marketplace services. Customers can purchase IPOs on a prepaid subscription basis and use any service up to the prepaid IPO subscription capacity. The new IPO model offers more value and benefit by granting access to a wide range of services and measuring their use on a consumption basis. Here's the old versus new packaging. Here's how you can see the metering on the administrator panel. You can go to the metering section and see the current rate card, how many IPUs are entitled, and the usage metrics by service, and also the billing cycle with the graph shown as a trend of total IP usage. Here is a usage history, governance records, marketplace records. It's by records. You can see by service and how much is the IPU consumed. Let's move on to org planning and architectural overview. Here's the pod availability of cloud data quality and cloud data profiling service. It spans across the globe, having multiple cloud provider options like AWS, Azure, or Google Cloud. Based on your subscription and location, orgs are provisioned through these pods. You can request any number of orgs, hence it needs planning for deployment. Although the info pods are hosted on a particular cloud provider, service consumption can be in any cloud, hybrid, or multi-cloud environment. You can leverage the supported connectors. Here's the pod availability of cloud data governance. The cloud data marketplace is in the same pod as cloud data governance. If you're brand new to IDMC and the GA pod has all the mentioned services above, it's recommended to have same org for better integrations across services. CDGC, CDMP services doesn't have code promotions, hence one product is sufficient for deployment. Sub-orgs are optional. It's recommended to have separate security agents for cloud data governance and cloud data quality or CDI with sizing guidelines applied. For an existing IDMC customer, it's recommended to have CDI prod org to be same as CDGC, CDQ, or CDMP org if the pod is having available services. The CDGC sub-org provisioning requires additional approvals. Here's a typical Informatica architecture having IDMC cloud platform interacting with on-premise data sources or cloud data sources or other cloud applications via the secure agent or agent group. The Informatica managed serverless services are leveraged based on elastic or serverless requirements for the respective cloud sources. Only metadata and profile results are sent back to Informatica Cloud. For metadata in IDMC, administrator can restrict to view sensitive data and profile statistics. Is a network architecture having IDMC service interacting with secure agent or group via the firewall requirements from the public to the customer environments. The secure agent can be deployed on-premise or cloud networks. It's best practice to deploy secure agents as close to the source as possible. The user interacts with the web client for any design or administrative activity with the IDMC services. Here's a cloud data quality and profiling architecture. The user interacts with the cloud data profiling or cloud data quality for design and administrative activity. And the tasks for profiling or rule executions or validations happens through the secure agent or agent group with the respective sources. For Parquet files on AWS S3 or ADLS Gen 2, it requires an advanced serverless environment configuration. The profiling warehouse, the metadata repositories or dictionaries are encrypted on the IDMC cloud platform. For the cloud data quality and profiling elastic, it spins up a auto-scaling Spark cluster, which is deployed to your cloud network. This is needed for the Parquet files or Avro files or JSON files, which needs hierarchical parsing. It's also used for CDI Elastic environment for cleansing purposes. This can be advanced serverless mode for fully managed scale-out environment with no clusters or software to manage and high performance data integration with built-in elasticity. Can use advanced serverless when you don't need an infrastructure maintenance and secure agent administration overhead. can dynamically or seasonally change infrastructure needs, and jumpstart projects are to do quick POCs. It can process lots of concurrent loads, and you can be productive, or you can use when you're short-staffed on resources. For cloud data governance, when you have data profiling needs for Park and Avro on S3 or ADLS, you can select the Elastic Runtime Environment to spin up an auto-scaling Spark cluster, which is deployed onto your network. There are various options like fully managed, self-service, or local cluster that you can choose from. Here is the IDMC security architecture diagram. IDMC is built on microservices-based technology architecture and cloud-native frameworks. The diagram shows all major components of the IDMC security domain and lays out the areas of metadata and data persistence and data movement. There's a detailed reference doc attached in the references section. You can see the multi-tenant org of IDMC services, having the data repository and metadata repository being encrypted, and the user interaction or the respective data sources interaction uses secure communication. The secure agent interacts with the IDMC services having the encryption in transit, and the storage is encrypted at rest. There's no inbound firewall ports required. The user authentication and authorization overview from the IDMC services, it's via the trusted IP range, and the best practice is used to have the SAML enabled for single sign-on with a multi-factor authentication. Let's move on to secure agent planning and sizing, handing it over to Puneet.
Thanks, Srini, for covering the planning, architecture, and security of the overall IDMC platform, and especially focusing from the data governance front. Now, the next very important question that comes up is where to start. Before working in the cloud, there are certain considerations that must be taken care of. Typically, these will be taken care by the organization administrator, and that includes, firstly, defining the runtime environment. At least one runtime environment should be configured to allow users to execute metadata scan, profiles, or mapping. Next would be defining connections. Before defining a new source in the metadata command center or MCC, connections should be used to define where the source target data is located. Next would be to create a user group or the setting of the roles. All these three considerations can be taken care in the administrator microservice. Now that we spoke about setting up the runtime environment, let's first understand what the runtime environment is. A runtime environment is the execution platform that runs data governance and catalog, data quality, data integration, or application integration tasks. So basically, any of the IDMC platform tasks. To run tasks in your organization, you must have at least one runtime environment set up in your organization. Informatica supports two types of runtime environments, secure agent and serverless runtime environments. Let's talk about what Informatica Secure Agent is. The Secure Agent is a lightweight self-upgrading program that runs on a machine inside the organization network or customer VPC. The Secure Agent is responsible for moving data directly from the source to the target. It allows users to access local resources, for example, databases or applications that reside behind the firewall in case of the on-premise setup or within VPC. Now, in this diagram, we see there are two secure agents or two secure agent groups shown below. The first secure agent is hosted in the customer premise and acts as a runtime environment for all the on-prem hosted applications behind the firewall. The second secure agent is hosted in the customer's virtual private cloud. This acts as a runtime environment for all the cloud data lake as well as the cloud SaaS applications. Please make sure that you configure separate secure agent in each VPC in case of multi-cloud presence in the organization for which the technical assets need to be brought into the CDGC. So the idea behind having separate secure agents on-premise for on-prem hosted applications or on respective virtual private clouds is to obtain optimum performance without or with minimum latencies. So we just spoke about the secure agent groups. When you create a secure agent, it is added to its own group by default. Now, you can add multiple secure agents to one secure agent group. Please keep in mind, all secure agents within the group must be of the same type. For example, all agents that run within your network or all agents that run on Amazon EC2 machines. Add multiple agents to a group gives us benefits of balance the workload across machines. When the runtime environment is a secure agent group with multiple agents, the group dispatches tasks and background processes such as the metadata calls to the available agents in a round-robin fashion. Improve scalability for the connections and tasks. If the runtime environment is a secure agent group with multiple agents, the tasks can run if the secure agent in a group is up and running, which means you do not need to change connection or task properties when you add or remove an agent, or if the agent in the group stops running. Now, the second type of runtime environment that is available is the Informatica serverless runtime environment. This option provides you to be freed up from managing and running server infrastructure, virtual machines, or containers. By saying so, it does not mean servers are not needed, but the responsibility of managing all the infrastructure and machine resources is with the provider. In the CDGC, this option is only available for the cloud sources such as Snowflake, Amazon S3, Redshift, and so on. Please note that the serverless option is only for metadata extraction and does not offer any profiling capability. However, it is on the CDGC roadmap already. The exhaustive list of the sources supported as serverless runtime is available in the FAQ slide later in this deck. Now let's talk about secure agent sizing. So it is recommended at least 16 CPU cores, 64 GB RAM, and 200 GB hard disk drive to get started with, and we can be scaled up as the data governance platform grows with time. The size of the metadata depends on the number of assets that are being processed. Assets include the sum of databases, schemas, tables, files, and columns, reports, mappings, and so on in the deployment environment. The performance of the metadata extraction tasks in the metadata command center depends on the number of assets that are getting processed. Since the agents will be extracting the metadata as well as performing the profile execution, they need to be sized correctly. The slide contains the link to the Informatica sizing recommendations guide for metadata command center as well as plan secure agent guide to ensure efficient performance. It is also recommended not to run the CDI time critical jobs on the same secure agent running metadata command center so as not to slow the CLI jobs. However, if you plan to use the same secure agent for both CDI as well as the data governance jobs, the secure agent needs to be sized accordingly as well as time schedule should be set up so both CDI and metadata command center jobs don't coincide with each other. Also, we recommend to set up the max DTM process to 20 so as to perform the profiling execution time. We'll discuss this in little more detail in our upcoming slides. Next, let's talk about PAM. PAM, or Product Availability Matrix document, provides us with the details about the compatibility of your Informatica products with various processors, platforms, operating systems, etc. You can access the PAM from the Informatica network search page. Go to the Resources tab, followed by the Product Availability Matrix tab. We will cover how to navigate and how to understand the Product Availability Matrix in more detail in our demo section. Please make sure that you always check the latest PAM for current updates and supported governance sources info. Now, we have known what is a secure agent and have sized it. So now it's time to know how to install it. Log into Informatica Cloud Services URL provided to you. Once authenticated, go to the administrator microservice. Click on the runtime environment on the left-hand pane. You will see the tab for download secure agent on top right of the screen. Click on download and a pop-up box will come up showing the option to select the platform as Windows 64-bit or Linux 64-bit. Also, it will show you the install token. Copy the token as you will require this while installation and hit download. The download will begin and save the executable binary at the desired location. The executable the executable can be SFTP'd over to the Win or Linux server as download did using WinSAP or any of the SFTP tool, so the installation can move forward. Follow the help link to install the secure agents on Linux and Windows platform respectively. Once the installation is complete, refresh the runtime environment page and you will see secure agent and secure agent group created with the same name as the host name. Note, it will take time for the services to initialize and start up before the status turns green and shows up and running. Please refer to the proxy guide URL in case of any proxy setup is required. So once the secure agent manager starts, you must register the secure agent using the username that you use to access Informatica Intelligent Cloud Services. You must also supply the install token. This is the token that was copied while downloading the executable. In case you missed copying, you can use the generate install token tab and use this token to register and complete the setup. So once the agent is installed, by default, a secure agent can schedule only 2 mapping tasks for execution. This causes the secure agent's capacity to be highly underutilized. To achieve better utilization of the CPU capacity of the secure agent machine and achieve a higher degree of concurrency, you can set the max DTM processes custom property for the data integration server to the number of parallel tasks, which means setting this property to 16 allows 16 tasks to run simultaneously. As you can see here, the recommended value for the property is set based on certain calculation. So if the job uses a file-based or a ODBC connection, the recommended value for the secure agent machine is 0.75 into logical CPUs. So for example, if there are 24 logical CPUs on the secure agent machine, set this value to 18. And if the job uses cloud data warehouse or cloud data lake connectors, the recommended value for the secure agent machine is 0.33 into logical CPUs. For example, if there are 24 logical CPUs on the secure agent machine, set this value to 8. Please make sure to set this property value appropriate so as not to cause any performance impacts. You can refer to the link for the max DTM processes guide for further details in this regard. So now while working on making a secure agent talk to our cloud data lakes and cloud SaaS applications, it is the secure agent who always initiates the connection and it is never the source. Hence, we need to whitelist a certain set of IP addresses so it gets added to our customers approved IP addresses list. There are 2 links in this slide for CDGC and CDQ respectively that provides the exhaustive list of IP addresses to be allowed, as well as port 443, which is for the HTTPS to be opened for outbound communication. We recommend using IP addresses and not the DNS entries, as certain issues have been seen in the past with DNS entries. Now it's time to enable the services and connectors in the secure agent. Please make sure to enable only the services and connectors as needed based on the source available in the organization. Check for the arrow next to the corresponding secure agent group and select enable and disable services and connector tab. Please note, data integration, data quality, data governance need to be selected. Select the connectors such as Amazon S3 V2, Google Cloud Storage V2 as per the governance project's requirement. Rest some scanners will be required for additional drivers to be copied on the agent. Please look at MCC guide for more details for scanner specific requirements. Now, let's discuss about establishing connection as well as various data governance roles and responsibilities. We configure a connection in the connection tab available in the administrator microservice. When you configure a connection, the connection becomes available for use within the organization. If you use sub-organizations and you want a connection to be available to multiple sub-organizations, create the connection in each sub-org. The connections page will list all the connections that have been configured in the org. You can create new connections using the new connection tab on the right top of the screen. You can also search for the existing connections either by name or its description in the search tab. When you configure a connection for most connection types, you specify a runtime environment for the connection. The runtime environment must contain an agent that is running. For other connection types, you must specify the runtime environment when you configure the task. So in the new connection wizard, provide the name, description, select connection type, and configure the connection specific properties. Save and test the connection, check for the errors and make the necessary modifications to make the test connection successful before it can be used in MCC for creating sources. You can delete any connection that you create as long as the connection is not used by a saved query or task. Let's talk about roles and responsibilities. Roles define the activities and tasks that users are allowed to do. Data governance roles include both technical as well as functional or business audience that work hand in hand to make the enterprise unified governance model into a success. The roles define the boundaries within which the users can act. For example, your organization might require the business analyst role to create business data and the data steward role to delete the data. There is a set of predefined roles already available in the administrator for data governance. In addition to the predefined roles, the organization administrator can create custom roles or user groups. To create custom roles, you can create a new role or clone an existing custom role into Informatica Intelligent Cloud services. After the roles are defined, the organization administrator can assign specific users or user groups to this role. There can be various roles that can fit as per the governance model of the respective organization. For this demo purpose, we will focus on the data analyst and business data steward role. There are many slides for various other roles and responsibilities that may be suited as per the organization that are present in the appendix section. Note that all the roles won't be applicable to each organization and will vary based on the governance model, use case, as well as the number of participants in the governance model involved. Data owner is one of the critical member and the key element of the data governance process. Some of the key responsibilities of the data owner role include partnering with the business data stewards to initiate governance process, define data and metadata, create data quality rules, implement other measures, and meet the business need of the organization. Inform the data stewards and the chief data officer about policy breach, document and capture data and metadata activities, and so on. Key functions of a data owner include verification of the processed data is relevant, correct, and up to date, verifies the excess data is not recorded into the system or service, performs regular risk assessment to verify the security of the processed data, perform regular checks to verify that the data processes comply with the terms of the data processor agreements. So based on the key responsibilities along with the activities performed, below is the permission set for data owner across various services such as metadata command center, CDGC, and human tasks. Please note, permissions set for each of the microservice is combination of asset permissions plus feature privileges. Asset permissions refer to what all assets and user role can access for a particular microservice such as CDGC. Feature privileges refer to what all specific privileges are available for a particular user role, that is, or example, export, import, view profiled assets, view sensitive data, and so on. Data steward interacts with the Data Governance Council to accurately verify data quality, security, and privacy of the data, enhance the overall information quality of the organization. Some of the main key responsibilities for the data steward role includes verify data quality, accuracy, and privacy of the data, accurately document business definitions of data elements, reviews and resolves disputes about data definitions, and curates data assets in the catalog with the right business glossary terms and custom attribute data. A data steward typically understands business needs, processes, rules, requirements, and data, establishes consistent data definitions, defines reference data, works with the Data Governance Council to develop and maintain data governance policies and procedures. So based on the key responsibilities along with the activities performed, below is the permission set for the data steward across different services such as Metadata Command Center, CDGC, and human tasks. We'll check for creating custom roles in our demo. Now, let's straight jump to our demo. Let's see how to navigate to the PAM on the Informatica portal, and once available, how to understand the PAM. So go to the Informatica community page and log in using your Informatica credentials. Once authenticated, go to the resources tab, and under that you can see the product availability matrix. Click on that, and under that you can see all the PAMs available for various platforms. Click on the PAM for Informatica Intelligent Cloud Services, and once opened, you can see a file attached there for PAM. So which will be something like this. So it is going to be a XLS file, and you can see all the acronyms used for various Informatica microservices in this PAM. Check for the browser support of like the various browsers that are supported for each of the microservice, localization support for each of these services, secure agent support. So here we can see like for CDGC, for cloud data quality, we can see Red Hat 7.x, Red Hat 8.x supported. The pods support for each of the service. So here we can see for CDGC, we can see the US AWS pods are supported. The AWS Canada pod, the AWS Australia pod supports CDGC. And once we go to the connections tab to check the sources that are supported, it will take us to the another knowledge base article, which will be something like this. And once we click on the PAM, it will download another file. The file will be opened, and here we can see all the sources that are supported as part of the IDMC. And again, we can see all the against which particular service the sources are supported. So let's take an example of Amazon Redshift. We can see it's supported for the data governance and catalog, data governance, catalog serverless, cloud profiling, mass ingestion, and so on. So this is something we can go there and check for each of the service. So this PAMs keep getting updated on a frequent basis. So make sure you always download and check for the latest PAM to check the latest support or availability for any particular service. So we just spoke about the pods and the availability of pods for various services. So there is a link called status@informatica.com that provides the status of each of the pods available and their current operational status, whether it's available or if there is any outage or any partial outage or any maintenance going on. So as needed, you can always subscribe the updates to either your mail to as text messages as mail, or maybe through webhook URL. So there are a couple of channels that you can utilize to set your notifications to get notified. Next, let's little bit get to understand how to set up a secure agent and update the services. So log in to your Informatica cloud URL as provided to you. And once you are there and authenticated, go to the runtime environment tab. From runtime environment, once you're here, you will see the option to create secure download secure agent. So once you click the download secure agent, you can see the option for Windows 64-bit and Linux 64-bit. So depending on the OS for which you need the secure agent binaries, select the OS and download the binaries and make sure to copy the install token. This is something you will be requiring during your installation. So once the you were able to download the binaries, the next part would be to SFTP using WinSCP or any other tool that is available, and then follow the guidelines as mentioned in the deck earlier to using the articles, follow step by step to complete the install. So once the install is completed, refresh this runtime environment page, and you will be able to see like a secure agent as well as a secure agent group with the same name setup. You can always go ahead and rename the secure agent group as per your requirement. And you will see the services won't be seen as completely initialized completely, or you will see as partial, because it will take certain time for these services to initialize completely for the secure agent. So once the secure agent is up and running, or once we see it is available, the next part is to enable and disable services and connectors. So you see a drop-down arrow, just select the enabled services and connectors. Once we go there, you can select these services that are required. So here in this case, you can see the data integration elastic, data quality, and data governance catalog. So for the CDC requirement, make sure the data governance and catalog service is selected. And in this connectors, select as per the sources that are being used in your organization. So just for example, here I've selected Amazon S3 V2 and Google Cloud Storage V2. So make sure that you select only the services and connectors that are required, and so that your service initialization doesn't take too long, and go from there. So once the services and connectors are selected, you will see a lot more services getting added, and in the starting phase. So once that is done, there will be a lot many services, but for just to get started, make sure that data integration server and the metadata foundation application, these are the two important services, and make sure they are in the up and running state. So once they are running state, you should be good to go. As we are seeing, there are a lot more services, so they all depend based on our the services and the connectors we have configured. Now let's talk about user roles and user groups. So as we can see, there are many out-of-the-box user roles available already. So but there is always a possibility of creating the custom roles depending on the need, if the out-of-the-box roles don't meet our requirement as per the organization needs. So using the add role, you can go there and create a new role. So here for this purpose, I have created a custom role as data steward. So here, depending upon the services for which we need to go there and give permissions and privileges to the appropriate assets and features respectively. So here we can see that it starts with data integration, but since this role has nothing to do with data integration, I'm not going to allocate any of the permissions over here. So I'll straight away first jump to the metadata command center. So here we can see, like, I have given the access as needed to the AI model, business reports, business term, data sets, metrics, policy process, system to this, and I have given the features 6. So I'm not giving any of the manage system settings or a super admin privilege to this role. Another is the data governance catalog. Again, these are the features for which I've given the access. And for the human tasks, I've given the view tasks, as well as for the permissions to create, read, and update human task assets. So this is the role I've created. So once the role is created, you can save it the role will be available. So once the role is created, the next part would be to map it to either the a set of user or to the user groups. So I go to user group, and we can always go ahead and create the user groups. So here, just for this demo, we have a group as the executive leader group. So here we don't have any of the user added. Let me go back to another user group as CDGC users. So here we can see there are a couple of users added to this group already. And let's check for the data steward role. So we can see that, okay, there is this role is already assigned to this user group. So similarly, we can do an assignment to directly to the user as well. But a good recommendation or best practice would be to map the users to the user groups and then map that role to the that user group. Now, from the user groups, let's jump to the data marketplace. So in the data marketplace, once you're on the data marketplace microservice, go to the setup tab and go to the integration tab. So in the integration tab, make sure you activate the integration source for data governance and catalog. So this is required to create linked data assets between CDGC and marketplace. The next is going to the look and feel tab. So this is not a mandatory requirement, but it is something good to have as to give a more customized feel to the business users. So you can personalize the look and feel of data marketplace according to your organization's requirements. You must have a data marketplace administrator profile to customize the look and feel of the organization data marketplace instance. The changes you make here appear in the home page and is visible to all the users who log in afterwards. Please refer to the reference slides of the deck for enabling the single sign-on with Informatica Data Management Cloud Platform. Now, I'll be handing over this session to Rebecca to go over the user onboarding checklist on the Informatica Success Portal. Over to you, Rebecca.
Thank you, Puneet. The data governance guides are downloadable resources that will help you with each stage of your data governance journey, from assessing business and technical readiness, planning for the implementation, to tool-specific checklists. To locate these guides on our website, navigate to our Success portal at success.informatica.com. From there, choose the Data Governance User Onboarding tile to navigate to the Data Governance series. On this page, you will see the tile for the Data Governance Guides. Select this tile to navigate to the Getting Started Guides for Data Governance. You will need to be registered on our Success portal and logged in order to access the guides. There are 3 types of guides. The first is a customer readiness package that contains a checklist of activities to assess both your business and technical readiness for a data governance program. The second is a Getting Started package for the planning and implementation phases of data governance. Be sure to select the cloud version for activities specific to our cloud platform setup. The third set of guides are the tool-specific checklists that show the high-level sequence of steps to ensure a successful implementation of that particular solution. All of the checklists include the roles that are typically responsible for that activity and contain links to artifacts or how-to guides on Informatica's portal that can assist you with that specific activity on the checklist. As always, we encourage your feedback for improvement on these data governance guides. Thank you everyone for joining this webinar, and we will now move to the Q&A section.
Hi all, we have reached the Q&A part. Please post your questions.
Hey, this is Kumar. I see a question about service account user creation is not allowed in SAML. Is it still the same? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, Kumar.
Okay.
Yes, Kumar.
So I just wanted to address that question. Service accounts are generally intended to be non-interactive, to be used for programmatic usage. And it's not that you cannot create a service account, a non-human account in your IDP. You certainly can do that. But generally, those federated accounts would require some kind of human interaction to authenticate. It's very common to see MFA flows hooked up to such federated accounts. So when a human interaction comes into play, then you cannot use it for programmatic usage, right? So if you are intending to invoke jobs or other tasks programmatically, then you cannot use a IDP or a SAML account. You have to use a native account, because in that case, IDMC has to know the password of such non-interactive service accounts to be able to properly authenticate them. So I'm assuming that was the that was the intent of the question. I hope I answered that.
There was one more question on whether same source will be used for multiple bytes and multiple secure agents. So, like, you can have as many secure agents deployed as close to the source as possible. And if you have multiple secure agents, you can group them together into a secure agent group. And based on the load and demand, it might use multiple secure agents. So you can execute those scanners on a secure agent group so that it kind of provides that load balancing.
I see another question about how to modify environment variables like PM root dir to point at a particular shared storage. So under the data integration server microservice under the secure agent, you will see that there are PMDIR style variables present. You can edit the secure agent and override those properties and point them to any local block storage that's locally accessible to all the agents in your agent group, and you can override them. How to consolidate logs for all the services. So we have a knowledge article out there that points at what are the various logs generated by each of the services. Those are the locations where those logs would be generated, and you can certainly hook up. If you're trying to do any kind of log analysis, you can hook up, Elastic Search or Logstash, FileBeats, Splunk, and ship those logs over to a common repository if you wanted to consolidate all of them in one place.
There is a question from Elias Shah. What was the last slide mentioned? So that is a very good question. It's a getting started guide that Rebecca walked through. We all recommend you to go through that getting started guide. It has implementation checklists and getting started with all the services of CDGC, CDQ, and CDMP. And you should see a certification badge once you complete that process.
I think there's a related question on the logs again, how to standardize logs from various services into one structure. So if the question is specific to how can I reformat all the logs into one structure, that's not possible. They are independent microservices. They all have their own nuances, and we cannot reformat them to follow the same structure. But you can, of course, ship them over to some other log repository if you wanted to, using like I said earlier, Logstash or FileBeats or Splunk, and then look at all the logs in one location. But it's not possible to standardize them into one structure across all the microservices in the product.
There is one more question from Vikas. Are there any sample artifacts available by industry like finance, example categories, policies that can be used to build internal demos? We'll get back to you, Vikas, on that question. A good one. So there's one question which is interesting, like how to analyze metadata from Janakashi. So once you have the scanners deployed and you execute the scanners, you should see the metadata on the governance and catalog side. So which will exactly show you how the source system has scanned, like what are the technical metadata available. So that's the raw metadata, and you need to have stewardship to enrich that content to have the end user usage with stakeholders and everything. So that is not part of the scope of this webinar. This is concentrating on how to get started for deployment of the services. So you can always reach out to us to discuss more on how to use and use the metadata that has been scanned through and how to reap the business benefits out of it.
I see a question about concurrency of jobs running. So it's not limited to any value. It is defaulted. It is controlled via a property called max TTM processes, which by default has a value of 2 when it's not set. It is a custom property. Typically, we recommend setting it to 75% of available compute threads. So if you had a 16-core agent, you could set it to 12, and that would mean that 12 of your tasks or subtasks would run concurrently, while anything else that's spawned after that would wait in the queue. I'm not sure about Power Center having better concurrency. It's all a function of your hardware. I would want to call out that in Power Center, after you run out of resources, if you spawn more jobs, they will outright just crash and fail. Whereas in IDMC, they would enter a queued state and then wait for resources to be available.
Do we have any more questions?
One thing I'd like to update, there is an appendix section added with additional references with all the links to, especially the IDMC security architecture and references to getting started guides that Jessica was walking through. Could you please go through all those links towards the end of this deck?
With slide 46 and 47 of the deck, covering the FAQs as well as the SSO references.
Since we don't see questions coming in, we will end the webinar. Thank you, Srini, Punit, and Rebecca for presenting today's webinar and all the panelists for joining us. We kindly request our audience to take up the survey and let us know your thoughts. Today's webinar will be available tomorrow on Success Portal under the Resources tab. You all have a great day ahead. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone for joining.